So it's about 7:50 a.m. It's about 7:50 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on February 3rd, 2020. The clock reads, clock on the computer currently reads 7:50 a.m. The Wi-Fi shows that it's connected. Currently located in a common area house in Santa. It's located in the town of Windsor County, Sonoma, State of California, United States of America. Currently have audio recorder going. It's currently on audio file 200203.001.wav. I think it may have automatically switched over from a different audio file. It's currently at 30 minutes and 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. The number listed on the California driver's license issued to me is D4315123. All right. I'm looking at part of the U.S. Code. I think it's like Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 113B, Terrorism. So that's crimes and criminal procedure, crimes, terrorism. So looking at Section 113B, well, I'm looking at I guess this is Section 2331, definitions. So as using this chapter, the term international terrorism means activities that involve violent acts or acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of criminal laws of the United States or any state, or that would be a violation committed within the jurisdiction of the United States, appear to be intended to... Okay, so I've described a bunch of crimes that I've been victim of during 2011 to 2020 while located in the state of California. Some of it also happened in states outside of California. I was briefly in Canada. I was trying to remember if I was harassed in camp while I was in Canada. I think I might have been, but I'm not certain right now. Trying to remember that more, or I'll try and think about that later. Anyway, so I think I qualify. Like as using this chapter, there's section of definitions. So section 2331. There's part 1, A and B. So I think I qualify for part A. And I think the situation that I've been in 2011 to 2020 and or like 2014 to like 2019 or 2020 or during 2014 to 2020 might qualify for section B. There was, I talked about the everybody thing. It's like a show that Robert Grant and Clark Anderson, I think, put on. And I think a lot of it, there was like, I think a lot of it was going on in Sonoma County at the time, like 2014 to 2020, possibly like 2014 to like 2018 and somewhere around there, somewhere in 2014 to 2020. And I think a lot of, so there's stuff going on in Sonoma County, and I think there was, there were a lot of people coming by to like observe me while I was being harassed. I was led to believe by people I was led to believe or strongly suspect I was led to believe that a lot of people were like observing me through some advanced technology and like watching me get basically get my ass kicked, or excuse my language, but basically get beat up and like stuff I described earlier in like other videos. So in that sense, I think it might be construed as an attempt to like intimidate, maybe not intimidate, but possibly like coerce. Like, what's coerce mean? I gotta look up coerce, because it's like this big show comes through town, and part of the big show is like this person getting this person as a victim of crimes against people, or as a victim of like battery, assault, harassment, sexual battery, and I think part of that was intended to coerce. Is coerce? I gotta look up coerce. I know what coerce really means. Excuse me. Persuade an unwilling person to do something by using force or threats. So by that definition, even though might be kind of threats against people, the force and or threats wasn't necessarily, at least what I'm describing right now, like the force and threats were against me. So they're persuading by doing something. Was the population really unwilling? Huh. Yeah, so maybe not coerce. Might be. Might qualify. All right, let's look back here. That'd be to like coerce the civilian population. There was stuff with like during 2011 through 2014. There was stuff like yeah, I think it does qualify. I'm just trying to like think of the ways that it does. Think of how to say the ways that it does. There was like a bunch of like females like going like all like going kind of heinous on possibly going kind of heinous on a bunch of on like a large part of the population. At least that's anyway. I don't think that was in it either. Well, like you know, any group of people, any like two people in the United States could be considered. You know, I think even a single person could be considered a civilian population. It doesn't say entire civilian population. So, no, I think yeah, I think what were these people doing? 2014, 2020. They were like intimidating. They were being very aggressive towards people. They were Ewing. They were doing that. They were like doing demonstrations about Ewing. I think it's like you know, you do to somebody else what they do to you, and I think there might have been some of that going on. At least there was some involved with me. Some involved with me. So I might qualify just because they're trying to coerce me. Like myself, I am a civilian population. Might not be how this law was intended, but it might be used in that way. I was certainly intimidated. And what I suspect is that there might have been more, there might have been additional people, like at least in Sonoma County, California, who were being intimidated. So that even adds to like so yeah, so I think these people would qualify as like terrorists, international terrorism. I guess that's just for definitions. I'd have to read through the law and find out if it like really applies. I guess it would be domestic terrorism. No, I don't know if I have time to like read through the entire chapter. But I was also I read something on Wikipedia about the Patriot Act and how it what did it say? I'm not sure if this is accurate, but something about like removing the statute of limitations for title. This is from Wikipedia. Title 8, Section 809, remove the statute of limitations on prosecution for any terrorist offense that led to the death or injury of any person. So granted, this is from Wikipedia, but if it's accurate, I described like injury. There was stuff that happened to like my penis. There was stuff that happened to like all the stuff they were doing to like my neurological system and like my thoughts. Like like my memories like abruptly occurring, not abruptly occurring, or abruptly occurring and abruptly fading. Like all like the sexual battery stuff, like they cause my, geez, they cause like my anus to leak fluid. They like, they loosen and tighten my wrist joints, like limping a wrist. They did that a few times. Yeah, so they like injured me. They did things to my throat. They like caused my throat to like kind of like tighten or harden or like swell a little bit, and then they'd relax it. Caused my cranium to like expand and then shrink. They moved my nose. They like shifted my nose a little bit to the left once. It was extremely painful. They also they changed the pigment of hairs on my chin. They see some there. I have like more gray hairs now. I think they like raised my hairline. It also caused me to pick my nose, and like that's been going on for a while. And I feel like my nose might be kind of like raw from that, or might be. So anyway, I think all that would or at least some of that would constitute injury. So I haven't really read through the U.S. Code or the Patriot Act. Oh, the Wikipedia thing was referring to the Patriot Act. So Title 8, Section 809. So I'm not even sure if this stuff applies, but I'm looking at Wikipedia and thinking that it might. So that was kind of uplifting to find this morning. The thought of like, I realize this technology might be kind of like treated like in a clandestine way or something, but I've been kind of worried that maybe these people won't prosecute this stuff, like regular crimes. I'm hoping that they do. I'm really hoping that they do. But I was still like hopeful to find this this little section on Wikipedia. Now that you mention it, that's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty broad definition there. Intimidate. How did it say? Well, anyway, I don't know how much time I have anymore, so. I was also reading the part of the U.S. Code, Title 18, Crimes and Criminal Procedure, Part 1, Crimes, Chapter 113C, Torture. The color of law. You know, geez, though. I don't know if I qualify under the color of law. Person acting under the color of law. If they're under the color of law. Anyway, I think I might qualify for this one. I was briefly in Canada during 2013. I've still been trying to remember if I was harassed during, was it 2013? I think it was 2013. Briefly in Canada for like less than an hour, probably. There's a record of me going through border patrol. Really intended to inflict severe physical or mental pain or suffering. So I should say these people have at times like attempted to convey like a kind of like a complicated or complex like string of logic as to why they've been acting the way they've been acting. They have like attempted to like at least like present it as though it was lawful, although like convoluted and possibly seeming as though it might not be lawful. Certainly seemed like it might not be lawful to me. And even some of the stuff they were saying, like, I have doubts that like the logic would hold, the way they like attempt to justify what they were doing or attempt to like excuse what they were doing. And additionally, furthermore, I wasn't given notice prior to, I wasn't given like clear written notice. I wasn't even given like conspicuous notice. It might have been, because they like, during like, they sort of communicated to me like right around like late 2013, 2014, when things like escalated. there was some more like overt and like obvious and conspicuous. I'm not sure what it means, but I'm not sure what it exactly means, but it might have been more conspicuous than before. However, like prior to, I was never given like written notice. I was already being harassed when they did come around, or when they did say like communicate to me during like 2013, 2014, or started to. I was already being harassed, and I was like in a state of distress, and I was like in a state of like, oh my goodness, I'm being attacked, and like, you know, so it was kind of like, and even some of that stuff, it seemed kind of like they just sort of like, why even some of their stuff seemed kind of, yeah, you can ask me about a different time. Yeah. So I was never given notice. I wasn't asked if like, every now and then they'd like, during like stuff 2014, they started like, they communicate to me through this advanced technology. However, I was already being harassed, assaulted, and battered. I was like distressed. I was confused. I think I was obviously confused and obviously distressed. I was under attack. That was part of why I was distressed. And it had also been going on for a long time. So yeah, I guess that was why I was distressed. There might have been additional reasons why I was distressed. Might have been additional reasons why I was distressed. Yeah, but they did all this stuff to me. They didn't ask, and it seems like they did a lot of like extra stuff. Like, and some of it was done like artistically, like a very like confusing. What I experienced to be like very confusing, like bewildering, you know, very like obstructing towards me, like doing anything. Because like, you know, I feel like a lot of these people like planned it out and like had a clear idea about what was going to happen and what was going on, or at least had resources to like back away from the situation and like kind of like assess and communicate to people without like those communications being like found or observed by people who were attacking. And I just, you know, I didn't have that like. There might have been some ways, but I was so confused and so distressed that like sort of like maneuvering within like whatever kind of like confines of like their like artistic assault and battery of me, their artistic attack, sometimes artistic attack of me, artistic attack of me. Yeah, they do like, as far as artistic goes, they do like difficult things. What was it? I guess I'm all think. I was saying stop a lot of the time, so like I didn't, you know, and like a lot of times they tried to owe me. There was like stuff in the O I didn't like, and like it didn't seem like legitimate. I'm like, you know, I just want out of this situation. And I think they used like part of what they were doing was like at least pretending to like attempt to make me. And I think there's like, you know, in some of that stuff, there's like confusing and artistic stuff. But I was saying stop. And I think like a lot of like what they were doing, like intentionally included harassment and battery and like attacking me. Including like, yeah, right. So there might have also been attempts to make me, but, you know, I was saying stop, clearly out loud. A lot of like the make even included like kind of extra stuff. There was a lot of extra stuff, like a lot of like, oh, that you might not really need, and you know, 5 years later, I still don't, you know. I still haven't like gone in, and like I don't operate my own technology and stuff. So anyway, so there was something about this stuff happening outside of the United States. Torturing accurate by a person of law, another person within control. offense. Whoever outside the United States commits or attempts to commit torture. So I think some of the people who attempted to commit torture against me might have been were located out of the United States. Well, like Vladimir Putin and Pol Pot's daughter. Although, you know, it might be said I was kind of tortured by the continuous like harassment. Like I couldn't escape like this communication, like people sending me thoughts and or sounds and me and then like observing like my response. It was like inescapable, and it was like intermixed with more like with different assaults and batteries. So it was kind of like it was sort of like part of the daily torture. That's no. All right. I guess poke around the U.S. Code for a little bit, but domestic violence. Oh, this guy. Okay, so I'm looking at U.S. Code Section 2261, Interstate Domestic Violence. Uh, Section A, Part 2, causing travel of a victim. In 2012, I think, I like tried to like escape the harassment that I suspect was perpetrated by Clark Anderson, at least in part by Clark Anderson, and part of his sort of thing. He's kind of like an old hippie pot grower from San Francisco, and I think part of I think he's got like a thing for India and like the whole like Hare Krishna thing, and so I think like part of like his trip is like, you know, like people traveling and like seeing the world or seeing America and like, you know, like, so I think part of what he does is like sort of like take in like kind of like young adults and attempt to like create like sort of like a life altering experience for them. I think that's some of what he does. I don't know if that's what they were doing to me. You know, they might have been reacting to me. I'm not sure what they were doing to me, or who. I'm not sure how that went. Because I was also like in my house, like putting together like a backpack and stuff. So I think there might have been additional people like who were like facilitating me, like sort of like leaving the state or like traveling around the country. It might have been part of like a plan that multiple people had put together. Yeah, geez, I wish I had a better like, you know, wish I knew more about what occurred. Wish I knew more what I've known. Okay. Okay, but that wasn't so. Clark Anderson was at times an intimate partner, even what like between as late as like 2000. Geez, though, I think we hooked up in like 2013. And I know we hooked up prior to 2011, and we hooked up prior to 2010, like oral sex. So person who causes. Okay, so a person would be Clark Anderson. Causes would be I'm like attempting to like escape this like, noise harassment, and I think possible also neurological battery that was occurring 2011 through 2013. Intimate partner, like I said, we hooked up to it's about Indian country. Oh no, excuse me. Partner to travel in interstate or foreign commerce. To travel in interstate or foreign commerce. Well, I guess I purchased something I purchased things inside of California. I purchased things outside of California. I ordered stuff from REI. I ordered stuff online from REI when I was in the state of Maine during like 2012, either 2012 or 2013. Travel. I don't understand what the term travel in interstate or foreign commerce means. I guess I purchased a bus ticket. I purchased a train ticket. I'm not sure what travel in interstate commerce means. So, kind of at a loss in this one. But anyway, duress. Let's find out what duress means. Threats, violence, restraints, or other action brought to bear on someone to do something against their will or better judgment. Was it against my will? It might have been against my previous will. I was always kind of like stoked on like travel and stuff. But while I was traveling, I was kind of like distressed by like, I would worry if people were, because a lot of it was like kind of like cycled thoughts and like sound harassment. I didn't know if people around me were hearing like what I was hearing. Sometimes I worried about it a lot. So I was like, I'm not a lawyer. I wonder if a lawyer would listen to this and find out if any of it applies. That's violence, constraints, or other action brought to bear on someone to do something against their will. So I don't know. So other action. So it would be like the sound harassment would be the other sound harassment, and like I'm pretty sure it was cycled thoughts. I'm pretty sure they were doing neurological stuff to me. So brought to bear. So it would be all that stuff like the noise harassment and cycled thoughts. So neurological battery. Ask me. I'll make a different video. I'm pretty sure there was cycled thoughts during 2011 through 2013, or like affected thoughts. I should say affected thoughts. I'll have to think about it another time though. And you could say like it was kind of like violent. So I was like under duress, and I was like doing things. I'd like masturbate a lot to like try and fall asleep. So it had like kind of like there was like a violent tone to it. It had like an attack I couldn't escape kind of tone to it. And I get like woken up in the middle of the night and caused to like be like really angry at I'd be like really angry at people. And I'd be get woken up in the middle of the night, and like I just like my head would start cycling, and it would I'd get like really pissed off, like my brother or something. And sometimes I'd wonder if they could hear like what I was saying and what I was doing. But I'd be like smoking cigarettes. Like it would be like 3 a.m. I'd be like, smoking cigarettes out like the side yard by the gate, like all like just steaming about or like all pissed off, or excuse my language, but all angry about like just whatever these people were like putting in my head, or like whispering to, or like sending sounds about, or talking to me about. I think there were depictions of like Cobalt. I think at times I thought it might have been like Cobalt and his crew. Cobalt was this guy who I was introduced to by Clark Anderson. I think he's like a Mendocino pot grower, Mendocino marijuana grower. And there was a time that wasn't really like interstate. And I think they'd like cause me to do things. Like sometimes, I'd be outside of California, and I'd like spend money on like food and like frivolous stuff. And I think at times I'd be like, why am I spending so much money on like freaking candy bars and soda, as I'm like backpacking around the country. So I think that would be like against my better judgment was to spend money on candy bars and soda. So there's, yeah. And that happened. I recall once that actually, no, I remember being concerned about like purchasing sodas when I was, I'm pretty sure. Well, yeah. No, because at that point I was low on money, and I have a memory of me like purchasing a soda in Florida. And at that point I would have been pretty low on money. So purchasing soda and like candy bars and gas station food would be against my better judgment. I suspect people were operating some advanced technology to cause me to want to do that. Yeah. Interstate or foreign commerce. Oh, and also I had the everybody thing going. So I think I was being publicized at the time. I'm pretty sure because I like watched the TV and like strange things would happen, and like strange, or I perceived strange things happening. Like it almost seemed like people on the TV could like, but anyway, that stuff might be just them like inducing thoughts, It'd be pretty easy to fake something like that. But anyway, if I'm getting like publicized, or like people are like, some people, even if it's not like the height of the everybody thing, but if I'm being publicized during 2011 through 2013, through this technology, and it's part of the everybody thing is like something someone puts on as like a show, and it's like for profit, for like even if it's not like for direct profit, which I think it might be. I think in some ways it might be. It certainly has like an effect on like that, I think who I suspect like Clark Anderson and Robert Grant, like sort of their goings-ons and their financial well-being and their income, how much money they can generate doing the show. So, I don't know what interstate commerce means. Person who travels in interstate commerce. Anyway. Yeah, I think the way the Constitution's been construed, it might be just about everything. Because isn't there something like, don't they interpret the interstate commerce clause pretty loosely about the I think that might be something. Anyway, I think it might be something. The clause referring to the clause in the Constitution about interstate commerce, and like how the federal government has like jurisdiction over everything now because they just called everything foreign commerce, called everything interstate commerce. I don't know, there might be something like that. I'm not sure. Okay. So I was like a victim of the sound harassment, being attacked, and also as demonstrated by what I just said about like waking up in the middle of the night and like getting all pissed off. I guess I'm pretty sure. I gotta make a different video about this. I'm not certain about this one. I'm pretty sure it was. Pretty sure there was some like neuro stuff going on. Like sometimes I get really tired. And I was caused to want to go drink beer. When was that? That was when I was working for Richard. So at times I would be caused to like want to do things that I otherwise like wouldn't do. Like I get off of work and I had to ride the bus through downtown Santa Rosa, or like transfer buses at downtown Santa Rosa. Sometimes I'd like go to bars and stuff. And I remember there was a time I was like saying to myself, please don't make me want to go to the bar. Please don't make me want to drink. And then, I guess we're going to the bar. I guess we're going to drink. So I recall that happening that would have been 2011 and or 2012 in Sonoma County. prior to going on the trip in which I went to Florida and various other states during like 2012, I think. So I fled the state trying to flee being harassed. What I now suspect was also assault and battery of my neurological system. Oh, and I suspect Clark Anderson was one of the people who participated in perpetrating the harassment, the sound harassment, and the neurological battery. And he was an intimate partner, or dating partner, someone I hooked up with sexually at times, prior and after 2011. Was it after? Yep, prior and after 2011. So we got let's get stalking. Oh, and I think when I was in, this one might not be accurate because when I was in, no, I'll explain it. It's accurate. Okay, so I was in during 2012, I think, on that first trip I took. That at some point I was in Florida. I also went through Mount Zion National Park. It's in where is it? It's in Utah. It's a pretty nice place. But at some point, I was it would have been, there's this hike or peak. It's called Angel's Landing, and I was so I was at sort of the base of that mountain or protrusion of rock, whatever I guess it was, and there was some sort of little stream at the base, and then across the stream, stream or little gully or something. But across the stream from that, there was a bathroom or something, like a national park bathroom or something. And it was I think it was daylight before noon, and I saw two people who looked like the two people that I've seen before. I saw a person who looked like Clark Anderson, looked very much like Clark Anderson there. It could have been any number of people that looks like Clark Anderson. It might even be also Clark Anderson calling one of his friends or relatives and saying why don't you go walk through this park while we got this guy while we're harassing this person who's also in the park. I also saw, what's that guy's name? Bill McBride. Some guy who I rented a house from in California, the Tahoe area of California during 2008, winter of 2008 or 2007, winter of 2007 maybe, something like that. But I also saw someone who looked like him there. And I saw both those people that morning, within I think was anyway. I think it was that morning. I might have seen Bill later that day, or it might have also been that morning, within 20 minutes of each other, maybe even shorter. But that being said, so if Clark Anderson really was there, I didn't say anything to him. I think I was just sort of surprised seeing him there, or I just sort of kept walking, I didn't really notice him. I didn't even make a big deal out of it, or anyway. So that being said, I guess it's, if it was him, it could be said that he traveled outside of California. So he was involved in interstate travel. Now, did he leave California to harass me or intimidate me? Possibly, possibly. He did seem to have kind of like a angry look on his face. Nah, I don't think he was there to intimidate me. I don't think he was there to intimidate. He might. I think he was already harassing me, so I don't think he. I think he was participating in perpetrating harassment of me. So I kind of doubt he like traveled to Utah to harass me. It might have been just like traveling there to like as part of like this program that I found very harassing of me. Huh. So causes, yeah, I was under substantial emotional distress um, during the time, just through like just through this general like just through being attacked and like continuously harassed. I should see the next section. Okay, so this technology, I'm looking at the U.S. Code, Section 2261A, stalking, Section 2. Um, okay, so all these people, no, I guess it'd be whoever with intent to harass um, uses any interactive computer service or electronic communication service um, or electronic communication system of interstate commerce. So this technology, I suspect all these people using this technology to harass me. I suspect this technology would be covered by any interactive computer service or like electronic communication service that has harassed me in like a substantially emotionally distressing way. I've been substantially emotionally distressed. I've also been caused, and if you include the stuff 2014 to 2020, I was caused serious bodily injury. So any person who caused serious bodily injury through this technology with intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, or place under surveillance with intent to kill, injure, harass, or intimidate any person. Yeah, so I guess stalking would be. I didn't know stalking just sort of. Yeah, okay, so I guess these people would qualify as stalking. The people 2014 to 2020, and the people 2011 through 2020, or the people 2011 through 2013. So anything 2011 to 2020, even the stuff 2010, because I think they used I think they used any interactive computer service or electronic communication service or electronic communication system of interstate commerce. So any interactive computer service or any electronic communication service. I think it's this technology would qualify as an electronic communication service. All right. So I guess I guess I qualify for. Maybe I should send this video to. I guess that'd be the U.S. attorneys. Well, there's probably more. There's probably more. All right. So there are at least some included in the U.S. Code, federal laws, I think they're called. All right. Okay. I'll go turn on the TV and get date and time and confirmation, and I'm not sure what else I'm going to do today. Things are kind of different. Things have been different like the past at least 2 days, or at least the past 24 hours. What's going on yesterday? Oh, and I was sexually battered this morning, last night, and/or this morning. I think I have it on audio recorder. I was like, they're still trying to do the pinking thing. I had to like get out of bed at least twice last night. Say stop. They like continued after that. Well, you had to do it twice, you know. Yeah. They started after you said stop. So those people are listening to me right now. Stop doing that to me. Stop doing that to me in the future. Stop sexually harassing me. Stop sexually battering me. Stop attempting to pink me. Stuff going on about like where I'm gonna go, who's gonna take me or hag me, and there's still kind of some of it's still difficult. Some of it still like almost seems like maybe not as much so, but it seems simpler, I should say. There's still been parts that seem kind of there's still parts that seem like artistic and like still parts that seem artistic and like extra and like difficult and obstructing and kind of like concern, all that time just like turning on my head, trying to like sort through all their little extra and artistic presentations. Okay. All right. I also wrote another letter I wrote something, I mailed a letter to the courts and a bunch of like law enforcement and criminal prosecutors, I think on like January 29th or something. January 29th. And I wrote like a follow-up letter to it. It talks about how like people generally don't acknowledge this technology, how I'm like concerned about that because I'm like asking the court to do something, and I've already talked to law enforcement officers and medical doctors who act like this technology doesn't exist. Whereas the stuff that I've experienced 2011 to 2000 into 2020, it certainly seems like this technology exists, or it certainly seems like a technology. I definitely believe stuff did occur to me during 2011 to 2020. I should say, I think it might be illegal to for like medical doctors and law enforcement. Like, I haven't really heard much from the court yet, but maybe the court will come through. They're sort of, you'd hope that kind of organization would be like official, like not be hiding some technology somehow, or yep, right, but I'm not. But at the same time, it does seem like there are a lot of people acting like this stuff doesn't exist. You don't see it on the news. There are actual licensed medical doctors in California acting like it doesn't exist. There's, stuff that I've experienced in the psychiatric hospitals, and talking to law enforcement agents who act like, who told me like, yeah, I've never heard of this sort of stuff, meanwhile the receptionist is, all right, part of my concern is like, or part of the concern is, I wonder if these people's brains are like, not their brains, but like the technological accompaniment to their brains that they use. I wonder if they're like structured like to respond to people in ways where it doesn't exist, and then they go home and, who knows what they do with this technology on their own time. And like, I don't, anyway. Right. And I don't want to sound, it's like a complex issue, so I don't want to make crack jokes or like, anyway, I'm going to try and get this letter in the mail today. Yep. Okay. So I'm concerned that all these law enforcement officers and medical doctors are acting like this stuff doesn't exist, or like speak to me as though this stuff doesn't exist. These people are harassing, assaulting, and battering me for a long time, and I'm kind of wondering how it's going to go if, like, after pursuing all this legal stuff, everybody just says, no, this stuff doesn't exist, I'm just sort of stuck out on my own, or like kind of stuck without these people being prosecuted, kind of might be in like a vulnerable spot, or like getting these people prosecuted has sort of been like my main like defense, or like my own defensive actions. There might be like additional things going on that like might be people like looking out for my interests and whatnot, as far as like safety wise. I suspect there are, but at the same time, it's like all these people, it's so complicated. Like where am I going to go that they don't like threaten to batter me and like tell me not to talk about what they do, as far as like who's going to take me through this advanced technology? I don't want to be threatened to secrecy, or like threatened to not offend the wrong group of people, or like I'm a generally law-abiding, or generally like, I should say like I'm a generally law-abiding. Like I speed, I smoke marijuana, I break some traffic laws. I take like minor things sometimes from like around the house. I like taking money from my parents, like small amounts, like no more than like $40 at a time. But even that, like I suspect people operating some advanced technology were causing me to do that. I think there's audio recordings about that. Strongly suspect. Again, I should say a lot of the stuff that went on 2011 through 2020 or into 2020, a lot of it's been like extra and like artistic and like way beyond any kind of like normal however like people like progress through life, or deal with like this advanced technology. I suspect a lot of that stuff is illegal too, but it's so like prolific or so like prevalent. I think it might be prevalent. Although I think it still might be a crime, There's all these little like assaults and batteries and harassments, and like they got all these convoluted reasons. But I still think it'd still be like battery to do that, to do some of the stuff they do to people. Harassment as well. Despite whatever like concocted excuse or like convoluted excuse, or yeah. So in addition to like what people do generally, The stuff I've been enduring during 2011 to 2020 and 2014 to 2020, it seemed like very extra. A lot of it seemed artistic. A lot of it seemed very like vengeful. A lot of it seemed very like it had like ulterior, like additional motives as far as like the perpetrators go. It served additional motives. Them harassing, assaulting, and battering me. Anyway. So yeah, I'm concerned about the way like law enforcement and medical doctors are like have acted towards me about this kind of technology. I think it might be criminal. I really think it might be like a crime, like what these people have been doing to me. Like medical doctors, like giving me advice based on like blatant lies and blatant misrepresentations of the truth. Also, medical doctors in psychiatric hospitals who are like detaining and forcibly drugging people, them falsely representing the truth to patients. Oh, jeez. Anyway. The doctors in the psych hospital act more crazy than I don't want to get into. I don't want to. They like, even some of their logic stuff. You like ask them about some of their stuff, and like the way they like explain it, like it doesn't seem like logical, or like it seems like pretty weak logic, or like it doesn't seem to like take into account like some pretty obvious things. But that's kind of a different topic. Anyway, I still got hope for the court. Hoping they're coming through. Yeah. I'm still hopeful. Old USA. All right. I'll go get the date and time, and yeah. Channel 1202 CNN HD.
Alone, not some foreign power, choose our commander-in-chief. The American people alone should decide who represents us. Okay, in any office, in the land.
Channel 1210
and what could undermine our national security more than to withhold from a foreign ally fighting a hot 30-40 down in Ukraine for many years now. Not enacting. Which you can add value, and I think the value.
This is channel 1222 Bloom H. Bloomberg Markets, European players.
Add value in finding how to create wealth better over the long term. In other words, it's a fundamental factor that is being added. And I think that as people look for more value advantage and more information advantage, that is being recognized as one area that needs to be added to.
I also suspect, yeah, people keep. I've talked to cops so many times, and then even after like reporting it to cops, I've been harassed, assaulted, and battered. Reporting this stuff to the police, I've been harassed, assaulted, and battered. So I think the police might be liable for like not doing not responding, officially. There might have been unofficial responses or clandestine responses. But as far as me like enduring like battery after the fact without them like actually like having an official response involving like criminal charges, like acknowledged criminal charges, and these people being prosecuted, perpetrators being prosecuted. Yeah, I think that might be liable for crimes. Reported so many times, so clearly. I've even been like driven to the emergency room by the police and then like sent to psychiatric hospitals in which like the harassment, assault, and battery that I was harassment, assault, and battery, and sexual harassment, sexual assault, sexual battery that I've been gone to the sheriff to complain about continued to occur while I was in the locked psychiatric facility. And it continued to occur after I was released from the locked psychiatric facility, like multiple occasions. I've been 5 times. I've been 5150 during 2018 and 2019. I was also Baker acted in Florida during 2012, I think. 2012 or 2013. All right. It's currently about 8:52 a.m. on February 3rd, 2020. No, we gotta do this thing first. I gotta take a screenshot. It might help with my date and time. Alrighty, end video.